Do you ever feel it, that relentless, soul-crushing weight of repetition? The daily grind, the endless tasks, the striving that seems to lead nowhere. As if you are condemned to push an immense boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down, day after agonizing day. This isn't just fatigue, it's a deeper ache. A suspicion that your efforts, your passions, your very life might be a grand, cosmic jest. A Sisyphean curse whispered in the silence of an indifferent universe. But what if this symbol of ultimate futility, this myth of Sisyphus, holds not a condemnation, but a radical, earth-shattering secret to your liberation? What if, in this image of eternal struggle, lies the key to a defiant, even joyful existence? Today, we descend into the heart of one of philosophy's most enduring and provocative metaphors, guided by the incisive mind of Albert Camus. We will confront the myth of Sisyphus not as a tale of despair, but as a profound exploration of the human condition in an absurd world. Camus doesn't offer us easy escapes or comforting illusions. Instead, he forces us to look directly into the eyes of meaninglessness, into the face of our own seemingly pointless struggles. And in doing so, he uncovers a path not to transcend the absurd, but to live within it with open eyes, a rebellious heart, and a fierce, unexpected joy. This video will dissect why Camus dared to suggest that one must imagine Sisyphus happy. We will explore how this seemingly paradoxical statement can become a powerful tool for you to reframe your own struggles, to find dignity in your efforts, and ultimately to forge a resilient, authentic, and profoundly meaningful life, even when the universe offers no guarantees and no ultimate purpose. If you are ready to challenge the very foundations of your despair, to find strength in the face of futility, and to explore the radical freedom that comes from embracing the absurd, then make sure you subscribe to MindMirror. Join our community of seekers as we confront life's most profound questions and unearth the wisdom that can transform your perception of reality. That feeling of being trapped in a loop, of performing the same tasks day in, day out, with no discernible ultimate reward. Does this sound familiar? Perhaps your boulder isn't a literal stone, but the mortgage, the endless emails, the pursuit of a promotion that always seems just out of reach. Camus begins by acknowledging this torment. Sisyphus, the mythological king condemned by the gods to an eternity of futile labor, pushing a rock up a mountain only for it to roll down again, is not some distant, unrelatable figure. He is, in many ways, a stark reflection of the human condition, especially in a world stripped of overarching divine purpose. We, too, engage in labors whose ultimate meaning can feel elusive, if not entirely absent. Camus defines the absurd not as a quality inherent in Sisyphus's task alone, nor in Sisyphus himself, but in the confrontation between the two. It's the clash between our human longing for meaning, for rationality, for unity, and the unreasonable silence of the world. Sisyphus, in his endless toil, embodies this absurd divorce, his passion for life, his scorn for the gods, his hatred of death. These are the very human qualities that led to his unspeakable penalty. A penalty where the whole being is exerted towards accomplishing nothing. This is the first crucial tool Camus offers: the recognition of the absurd. Not to shy away from it, not to sugarcoat it, but to see it clearly. To understand that much of what we experience as struggle and futility is born from this fundamental mismatch between our deepest desires and the world's cold indifference. Many philosophies and religions attempt to resolve this absurd tension by either denying one of its terms, by positing a higher meaning, a divine plan, or by devaluing human aspiration as mere illusion. Camus rejects these leaps. For him, the integrity of the absurd lies in maintaining this tension, in living with this divorce. Sisyphus, the proletarian of the gods, is lucid. He knows the whole extent of his wretched condition. It is what he thinks of during his descent. This lucidity, this clear-sighted awareness of his fate, is precisely what makes Sisyphus tragic. If he had hope of succeeding, if he believed his labor served some grander purpose, his torture would be diminished. But it is in his conscious, hopeless repetition that the full weight of his absurd condition is felt. So, what does Sisyphus's ancient torment mean for you? Grappling with your 21st century anxieties, it means acknowledging the potential absurdity in your own pursuits, that career you're relentlessly climbing, that societal approval you crave, even the search for perfect happiness. Camus invites you to ask, are these endeavors truly meaningful in themselves, or are they, in part, a way to distract from a deeper, more fundamental lack of cosmic purpose? Recognizing this isn't a call to despair. It's a call to lucidity, to see your boulder for what it is. This clear-sightedness, this refusal to be duped by easy answers or societal scripts, is the first step towards an authentic, absurd freedom. Think of the scientist pushing the boundaries of knowledge, knowing that each answer only uncovers more questions, or the artist striving for perfect expression, aware that their creation will eventually turn to dust. Consider the activist fighting for justice in a world rife with oppression, knowing that the struggle is endless. These are all modern Sisyphuses. They may not be condemned by Zeus, but they are driven by an inner compulsion to strive, to create, to understand, in a universe that offers no ultimate validation for their efforts. The boulder takes many forms. The torment of Sisyphus isn't just in the upward push. Camus draws our attention to a crucial, often overlooked, part of the myth, the descent, that moment when Sisyphus, his task momentarily complete, walks back down the mountain to retrieve his fallen stone. Have you experienced these descents in your own life? The quiet moments after the struggle, after the failed project, after the argument, after the exhausting effort, the moments when the noise stops and you are left alone with your thoughts, with the awareness of your efforts, and perhaps their apparent futility. It is during that return, that pause, that Sisyphus interests me. Camus writes, "A face that toils so close to stones is already stone itself. I see that man going back down with a heavy, yet measured step towards the torment of which he will never know the end." This descent for Camus is the hour of consciousness. It is in these moments, free from the physical exertion, that Sisyphus becomes aware of his fate. He is no longer just a laboring body, he is a conscious mind reflecting on his condition. And in this consciousness, Camus argues, Sisyphus is superior to his fate. He is stronger than his rock. This is a pivotal insight. Lucidity, even in the face of a meaningless and eternal punishment, grants a form of tragic dignity. This hour of consciousness is not necessarily one of joy in the conventional sense. Camus acknowledges it can be performed in sorrow. When the images of earth cling too tightly to memory, when the call of happiness becomes too insistent, it happens that melancholy rises in man's heart. This is the rock's victory. This is the rock itself. Yet even in this sorrow there is a victory. Crushing truths perish from being acknowledged. Camus states, by confronting the full extent of his wretchedness, by not flinching from the truth of his absurd labor, Sisyphus internalizes his fate. It becomes his fate, his rock. This is where the concept of revolt begins to take shape. Sisyphus's rebellion isn't in escaping his punishment. That's impossible. His rebellion lies in his consciousness, in his refusal to be broken by it, in the scorn he can feel for the gods and for the absurd decree. How can you find your hour of consciousness amidst your own daily struggles? It's in those moments of pause, of reflection, when you step back from the relentless doing and allow yourself to see your life, your efforts, your challenges with unflinching honesty. It's about acknowledging your boulders, the repetitive tasks, the difficult relationships, the societal pressures, not with blind acceptance, but with lucid awareness. What are they? Why do you push them? What do they cost you? This conscious descent, this moment of clarity, is where your power lies. It's where you transform from a mere victim of circumstance into a conscious agent, aware of your absurd condition but not defined solely by its suffering. It's where you find the strength to say, this is my struggle, and I will face it with open eyes. Imagine the entrepreneur whose startup fails after years of relentless work. The descent is the painful aftermath, the sifting through the wreckage. But it's also the moment they can consciously analyze what happened, what they learned, and how they will face the future, not with naive optimism, but with a chastened, absurd courage. Or the caregiver, day after day, tending to a loved one with a chronic illness. The descent might be those quiet, late-night hours, filled with weariness but also a profound, conscious affirmation of their chosen responsibility, their love in the face of an unchangeable reality. It's in these pauses, these moments of lucid reflection on our labors, that we, like Sisyphus, can find a strange and powerful dignity. We acknowledge the weight of the stone, the steepness of the hill, and yet we prepare for the next ascent. But is this all there is, a grim acknowledgement of an absurd fate, a life sentence of conscious struggle? If so, where is the saving grace you spoke of? Where is the liberation in this stark vision? This is where Camus makes his most audacious, most life-affirming move. He doesn't just ask us to imagine Sisyphus conscious of his torment. He commands us, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Happy, how can a man condemned to eternal, pointless labor be happy? This is the core of Camus' absurd happiness. It's not the happiness of blissful ignorance or naive hope. It is the happiness born from total lucidity and total rebellion. Sisyphus is happy, Camus argues, precisely because he has embraced the totality of his absurd fate. He knows his struggle is endless, his victory temporary, his ultimate end assured, and in this knowledge, he is freed. His happiness stems from several sources, all rooted in the absurd, his revolt against the gods and his fate. The very act of consciously pushing the stone is an act of defiance. His freedom, once he accepts there is no ultimate meaning or escape, he is free from the burden of hope and the fear of disappointment. He is free to immerse himself in the present moment of his struggle, his passion. He pours his entire being into his task. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. This isn't a passive resignation. It's an active, joyful combat. Sisyphus, by scorning his fate, by making the rock his thing, by finding his universe in that struggle, transforms his punishment into a chosen destiny. Camus suggests that happiness and the absurd are two sons of the same earth. They are inseparable. The moment we recognize the absurd, the moment we understand that life has no inherent meaning dictated from on high, is the moment we are truly free to create our own meaning, to find our own joy in the very act of living, struggling, and being. This happiness is not contingent on external rewards or a future paradise. It is immanent, found in the full conscious engagement with the present, with the task at hand. However repetitive or seemingly futile it may appear from an external, objective viewpoint. How can you, like Sisyphus, find happiness in your pointless struggles? It begins by shifting your perspective. Stop searching for an ultimate, divinely ordained meaning for your job, your relationships, your life. Instead, embrace the freedom that comes with acknowledging the absurd. Your life's meaning is not something to be found, but something to be created by you in each moment, through your choices, your attitudes, your passions. Find joy in the struggle itself, in the effort you pour into your work, even if the outcome is uncertain, in the love you give, even if it's not always reciprocated in the way you hope, in the courage you show when facing your fears, even if you sometimes stumble. This is the absurd joy, a defiant, lucid, and profoundly human happiness. Think of the writer who toils for years on a novel, knowing it may never be a bestseller or even published. Their happiness isn't in the potential fame, but in the act of creation itself, in the struggle to give form to their vision. This is Sisyphus, finding joy in the shaping of his stone. Consider the marathon runner, pushing their body to its limits, not for a medal, but for the pure, exhilarating experience of overcoming their own physical and mental barriers. Each painful step, each gasp for breath, is part of their absurd, chosen joy. Even in the most seemingly mundane routines, raising children, maintaining a home, pursuing a difficult skill, if you approach them with full consciousness, with revolt against their potential meaninglessness, with a passion for the present moment of effort, you are, in a Camusian sense, imagining Sisyphus happy within yourself. So, we've explored the absurd, the conscious descent, and the defiant joy of Sisyphus. But what is the ultimate victory for such a hero? If there is no heaven, no ultimate reward, no escape from the endless cycle, what does it truly mean to save yourself in an absurd world? You might be asking if all effort is ultimately futile in the grand cosmic scheme. If death erases all, then why strive? Why love? Why create? Why rebel? Camus's answer is radical and deeply human. The victory of the absurd hero of Sisyphus lies not in changing his fate, but in exhausting it. It lies in living without appeal. Living without appeal means renouncing the hope for a transcendent meaning, a future salvation, or an external judgment that will somehow validate your struggles. It means accepting the limits of your condition, your mortality, your finite understanding, the world's indifference. And in this acceptance, a new kind of freedom and richness emerges. If there is no eternal tomorrow to bank on, then the present moment becomes everything. The present and the succession of presents before a constantly conscious soul is the ideal of the absurd man. Every moment of lucid revolt, every act of passionate engagement, every conscious breath taken in the face of absurdity becomes its own reward, its own meaning. Sisyphus's victory is that the gods cannot take away his consciousness, his scorn, his decision to find meaning in the meaninglessness. His fate belongs to him. His rock is his thing. In that ownership, in that lucid embrace of his struggle, he finds his sovereignty. He is not waiting for the rock to stay at the top. He is not hoping for a reprieve. He is fully present in the act of pushing, in the sweat, in the strain, in the brief pause of the descent. This is the quantity of experiences Camus speaks of, replacing a non-existent quality promised by illusion. The absurd hero understands that true richness lies not in the length of life, but in its depth and intensity of awareness. A conscious life of 40 years, lived with revolt and passion, can hold more meaning for the absurd man than a longer life lived in unthinking habit or blind hope. This is the ultimate how it saves you part of Camus's message. When you stop appealing to a future that may never come, or a meaning that the universe refuses to provide, you are liberated to live fully and authentically in the now. Your meaning isn't waiting for you at the end of some grand quest. It's here, in your conscious engagement with this moment, this task, this relationship, this struggle. Embrace your boulders, see them clearly, push them with all your passion and lucidity. Find your dignity not in some future reward, but in the courage and consciousness you bring to the present effort. This is the absurd hero's triumph, and it is a triumph available to you every single day. The parent, in the midst of the chaotic, often thankless, daily routine of raising children, finds a profound, present moment joy in a child's laugh, in a moment of connection, knowing this is the meaning, not some future idealized outcome. The activist, fighting for a seemingly lost cause against overwhelming odds, finds their purpose not in the guarantee of future success, but in the unwavering commitment to their values, in the very act of standing up for what is right, here and now. They are not waiting for life to become meaningful. They are making it meaningful through their lucid, passionate, and rebellious engagement with the present. With their rock, they are living without appeal. Albert Camus, through the myth of Sisyphus, doesn't offer us escape from life's inherent absurdity, its repetitions, its ultimate futility. He offers something far more potent, a way to live within it, with fierce dignity and a profound, defiant joy. To recognize your boulder, to embrace your struggle with open eyes, to find your freedom not in transcending your fate, but in exhausting its possibilities through conscious revolt and passionate engagement. This is the path of the absurd hero. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. This isn't a call to resignation, but a radical affirmation of life, in all its beautiful, terrifying, and ultimately human absurdity. The power to imagine Sisyphus happy is the power to imagine yourself capable of the same. What is the boulder in your life that feels most like a Sisyphean task? How does Camus' reinterpretation of this myth change your perspective on your own struggles, on your own search for meaning and happiness? Share your reflections, your challenges, and your own moments of absurd joy in the comments below. This conversation is vital, and if you're ready to continue exploring the profound depths of philosophy and the art of living a conscious life, ensure you subscribe to MindMirror. Thank you for joining us on this ascent. Remember Sisyphus, and choose to be happy in your struggle. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research.